when we say climate change is happening, people think, oh, nature is dying. No, no, no. We are killing the possibility of surviving on this planet.
Right.
Once we all die, nature will again come back.
All right. So India has witnessed at least three massive forest fires this year. First in Nagaland, then in Himachal Pradesh, and recently in Odisha. And I'm sure there have been many more that have been unreported. Now, this forest fires, these forest fires across the country have affected huge tracts of land, burnt them into ashes, affected the ecology, the animals dependent on it, the local villagers, and so much more. Now, several reports suggest that forest fires are not only an old phenomenon, but are likely to rise in the coming future and have also risen in the past. Now, to talk about this in detail, we are in conversation with Aakash Ranison, an environmental activist and climate change expert. Thank you so much, Aakash, for taking out time and speaking to me.
Thank you so much for inviting. It means a lot.
I would first like to begin by asking, the concern about rising forest fires has been raised multiple times. The government in 2019 and in 2020 accepted that it is a big problem, and large areas of forest land is being burned and, as I said, burned to ashes because of forest fires. Now, experts have linked this calamity to climate change and many other local factors, but I want to understand, what do you think is the main culprit here?
So, before I start talking about what is wrong and why is it happening so much, just to understand that it's a fact, so I should share with everyone that forest fires have been happening throughout the existence of Earth. It's a normal phenomena. It keeps happening,
Yes.
And it happens for the rejuvenation of the forest and new trees. So it's perfectly fine. But now, what do we have to understand is the rate it is happening now. It's happening at an unprecedented rate, rapidly increasing. If you go to the data and you understand, analyze that, you will find that if this is the time of the Earth we have lived on, or let's say this is the age of Earth, in the recent time of the industrial era, you'll find that it has increased rapidly. And if you see before that, the whole area when we were not really cutting trees, or we were not really burning a lot of fossil fuel, and we were not really depending on, let's say, consumer culture, it wasn't happening that much. But the time when we started consuming a lot, we started emitting a lot of greenhouse gases.
Yes.
And that's when you will realize that, okay, this is where it all increased. So now, again, simply, it's a normal thing. It happens. It's part of the nature. But the problem is it's happening too much. And that is where it's a problem and we have to solve it. Now, what is happening? Now, why is it happening? Simple. To make a fire, you need three elements. One is a source of fire, as in any kind of light, harsh light, which is sun in this case. Second is oxygen, which is present everywhere on Earth. Third, what do you need is a flammable object. In that sense, it could be, let's say, fossil fuel, flammable object, or it can be even a dry leaf.
Right.
If you remember, in the school, we did this experiment with a magnificent glass, putting it on a paper along with the sun. That's what we did. Paper is a flammable object because it's dry. It can easily catch fire. If you put even like a lighter along with it, it will fire. That's how simply it is happening. So in the forest, now another thing you can understand, sunlight has been always there. Forest has been always there. Oxygen has been always there. Now, why is it increasing? What's the logic, even if it's happening naturally? So then you need to understand, that if in case you live in Mumbai or Delhi, summer is getting longer and it's getting really harsh, right? The temperature is increasing. So putting the science very simply, I told you how a fire works and why it's increasing, because more longer time of heat and more heat because of the season. Now you know why it's happening. Simple.
Absolutely.
Now this is one way of natural fire increasing, but also there are other ways which are not natural. For example, people burn forests. Why do they do it? For several reasons, such as, let's say, poaching. If these poachers are trying to trap animals or make them run towards a certain direction, they would burn the forest. So then animals will stay away from this area, and now they don't have to worry about this area. They have to go to the other area to look for the animals.
Right.
So one is that way, because one of the reason why poachers put fire on the forest. Another one, let's say forest fires, forest land is very rich in terms of a lot of natural resources.
Right.
We are talking about climate change, but this is the reality. Greed is there in people's mind, and businesses want to make more money. They want the natural resources out of that land. So even this is a very normal thing. Okay, obviously we don't hear it into the mainstream media, but it is quite not a big deal if a bigger corporate would put that land on fire, so that in future they can buy that land in a very cheap price and use that land for mining and for different purposes.
Absolutely.
Right? Because till the time the forest is alive, it's a reserved land, you can't sell it. But if you burn it down, after a few years, this same land will be sellable and in a very cheap rate. And through that cheap investment, you can make a huge money out of it.
Absolutely.
That's another one, right? People can do any number of things, not only mining, let's say, what do we call, setting up palm forest on these kind of lands is again a very popular thing in Amazon forest, because palm oil has been consumed at a drastic rate. You see all these chips, like, I don't want, let's not name the brand at this point of time here, but all the chips you're eating, they are all being fried into palm oil.
Yes.
Right. So you understand there's a huge demand into the market. It's of billions of dollars of business. How do you fill this demand? And if there's a demand, obviously a businessman wants to make money. We don't have a land. Where do we put this palm forest to make palm oil? That's what we do. Burn a real forest, it will be sellable, then you buy it, then you grow your palm trees over there. Right? So there are several reasons people burn forest for, and even let's say we cut the trees so that we can sell the wood, we can use the wood for several reasons. But now like few examples how natural forest works, why is it increasing, and why illegally people are burning forests.
Absolutely. Akash, as you rightly pointed out, if I understand what you're saying correctly, there are many factors, but even then climate change has been the main culprit. Now if we talk about what you've mentioned are the causes, now if we talk about how our fire management skills are in India, where do you think are we lacking, right from preventing such a disaster to dousing the fire in the correct manner? Where do you think are we lacking, and what do we have to improve?
Okay, so it's not that we are lacking specifically into forest fire management. We are lacking into the leadership around the country. We see so many things going wrong around the country every day. It's not a big deal to be on social media, scrolling through posts and coming out on a post, knowing that, okay, who died, who killed, who got raped, or what happened wrong. It's a very normal thing in India as of now. Not talking about other countries. I think I can't really point out that what is happening specifically wrong. It's the overall leadership, because I came to read it somewhere that there's a huge budget, crores of rupees budget for forest preservation. And obviously, it's not a doubt that obviously India has a big, huge crore rupees of budget for the protection and preservance of the whole forest in India. We have crores of rupees. Then why is it that we don't have right people on the job? Skilled people on the job, enough people on the job, and right equipment on the job, because obviously corruption is there in between. Again, greed, I'm really sorry, but at the end of it all, whatever we are doing is because we are not really living the right way. It's about greed and wanting for more. That's when we take wrong steps to save money, to bring money into our pocket, and corruption is the problem. So at the end of it all, even if you want to solve, why are these people who are selling fossil fuel, they are continuing even after knowing there's a problem? Why are we know that, okay, summer is approaching, summer is coming. Why are we not ready already on point? Because obviously we are not investing the right amount which has been allocated for that service. and we are using that money in the way of corruption to divert it somewhere else. So that is what is happening. But now what can be done? What is the solution to it? I think people need to raise voice. People need to raise voice. I'm not saying everyone has to become an activist, or I'm not even saying that okay, go start a political party or give an IA that exam for getting into this official services. Because not every citizen can become a part of the government. Every citizen can't go and start a political party. But is it important if you are an informed citizen of the country? Leaders and administration won't be able to live in ignorance.
Absolutely.
As of now, we are not really aware about our rights. We are not really aware about our what do we call we are not really aware about the rules and regulation, how things work, what is the budget. People don't want to take interest into the union budget. People don't want to take interest into the ministries. And obviously these problems will happen because they are free. Nobody is looking at them. Now, when Simlipal forest was on fire, for starting 9 days, nobody was talking about it.
Exactly. Yes.
Right. My friend Akshita from the same region, she tweeted about it. She talked about it a lot. She reached out to a lot of people, and she tried to create an attraction towards it so that people look at it.
Yes.
And once there are people looking at the problem, then government parties be like, okay, we need to solve it because people are looking at that one another mistake we created.
Absolutely.
Right. So I can't really ask.
I think adding on to, I'm so sorry to interrupt, adding on to what you just said, when we were covering Simlipal forest fire in Odisha, we had pushed out a lot of visuals, a lot of videos of these. There was this one video that went viral of this forest staff who was dancing when the forest was, the forest fire was. Now, also one thing, while people were celebrating that video, there was also one thing that came to our minds about how people who are tasked with dousing this forest fire have no resources or equipments or the right amount of, whatever they wear or whatever all the equipments that they need to douse the fire. I think that shows a lot of insensitivity from the government side. Because as you mentioned, not everybody is interested in budget allocation or how much money the government is pooling in to douse the fire or whatever it is. But we do see people protesting. We do see, and we have seen people in Goa, people in Dehradun, and people in Bangalore protesting when the government had plans of slashing trees and cutting trees and huge lands of forest. But I think while there is awareness, the government sort of has not decided to act on it. Now, do you think the government thinks it's not important, or do you think there's a willingness to there is some sort of negligence that comes intentionally, that they do not see the seriousness of this?
So what I can simply say, one point you mentioned here that, okay, people are coming on road, people are protesting against it. So you need to understand the generation, which is this generation, which is coming on road and talking about it, right? So it's the recent generation, like the youth, let's say majorly around 20, right? Or let's say 15 to, or even not 15, 10 to 25. Majorly these are the people, right? But these are the people who are not really in a position of an action right now, right? Majorly the people who are in administration who can really take a call of action, they are above 35 or 45 even, right? They are in that age. So understand the people who are demanding, the people who understand what is future, what is right, according to this thing they read and study, and also understand the people who are sitting in the administration, they are not now growing their information and knowledge.
Absolutely.
Because they are busy implementing what they already have.
Yes.
Wherein the youth which is here, they are busy understanding what is happening on the ground, what is future. Right? So in a way, we are living currently under a guidance of the people who have a knowledge of past. And the people who have a knowledge of today, they can only talk about it, ask about it, but cannot really act on it. So activism is good, but again, also now another thing, we have to understand the ratio. What is the population of the country, and how many people are really are really talking about the point and demanding change. That will come down to be very tiny number. Right? That's where it's difficult. More people need to be aware about it, and it's really like, I'm really thankful for the platform like yours, Logical Indian, that you talk about these points, so it reaches to more people. People get aware about different subjects, and then they can demand.
Absolutely.
Right? So what we really need to do, that we need to talk about these topics. Like, I don't remember before Simlipal people talking about forest fire on a serious note.
Hmm.
Thanks to this pandemic, in some or the other way, that people are starting to focus on nature and environment and climate change, these kind of subjects. So
Hmm.
we are talking about it, and this is very good, right? That India already has a very limited number of forests, right? And one of the forests in Simlipal, that's one of the really important. I think it's it's the second largest area in Asia which has specific type of plants, and
Hmm.
we can't lose them, right? So,
Absolutely.
and again, we need to understand also this part. Northeast is the area which we call the wettest land,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And still it's on fire. So can you understand how the wettest land can get on fire? How much heat are we generating?
Hmm.
So keeping all of these facts in mind, this is what we can do, that we need to talk more about it. More people need to talk about it. We don't want everyone to be on the road, but to be aware about it. And that's how you will be able to choose your right leaders who will take the right calls on your behalf. And then what you said, that the team is there. There are few people who are really touched with the in touch with the forest. They are there when the rain came. They
Hmm.
were super happy. But again, the people, if you see the girl, she's somewhere in between 20 to 25 age,
Hmm. True.
right? The one who's dancing in the video. She yet do not have the power of making the call.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right?
As you mentioned, Akash, I think things have changed after we came in the middle of this pandemic. Also because earlier there was not so much of awareness. Obviously, we need to be aware more about this. But ever since the lockdown started and the country was put under a lockdown, people started sharing photos and videos of clear
Yeah.
skies and forest
Yeah.
areas, and how
Yes.
people could see the hills and mountains from their place. But at the same time, I
Yeah.
think we need to get serious about this. It's been quite long that environmental activists, climate change experts like you have been voicing out these concerns, and it is important to take this seriously. Coming to which, I want to understand what do you think is the future now? Because this is going to rise, considering the climate change, considering other factors, considering how we are tackling this natural calamity. How do you think are we prepared as a country, or as a planet, to tackle this right now? What do you think needs to change immediately, if there are any pointers you have in your mind?
Okay, so the one and only pointer, not making it confusing, just one pointer I would give: knowledge.
Hmm.
I am not asking people to act. All I'm asking, just know what is climate change, and that is all I can ask for.
Right.
If still after knowing what is climate change, see what I'm saying, you eat food, in your food you know what is it made of, you know all the ingredients, right?
Hmm.
You know all these spices, all the vegetables in it, then you eat it, or do you eat anything randomly on your table?
Right.
No, right?
Hmm.
That's what I'm saying. You are living on this earth. Just know it. Stop eating this earth, or stop consuming it without knowing it.
Absolutely.
If you eat things which you do not know what you're eating, you'll die. If you start eating plants, if you start eating small bugs you do not know about, can you just randomly go on a road or in a forest and start eating leaves?
Obviously not. Yeah.
Because you're scared. I might die. I don't know what is this plant made of.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. When you know your food you're consuming, you're very well aware of that. Okay, this is what it is made of. I know all the ingredients. Then why don't you want to know that what is this world made of? Right? And I'm not asking you to go and read physics, chemistry, science, and understand all the elements.
Hmm.
I am saying just understand the basics, how it works. What are you inhaling? What are you exhaling? Where is this gas coming and going from?
Right.
Just be aware. And still, if you choose that, no, I don't want to act for it, then it's okay. Because I know once you know it, you wouldn't want to die. Because as of now, you don't know what you're walking towards or what is coming towards you. It's climate crisis. One pandemic locked you inside your house. You were not able to do anything, right? A lot of people died not because of this disease, but because they could not make money, they could not eat right food, they could not get medication for the problem which was there even before this pandemic, which has nothing to do with this
Yes.
disease.
Yes.
right? A lot of women went through domestic violence because they were just locked into this space. A lot of kids were not able to study. A lot of kids who were ready to join a job, they were not to, they couldn't join it, and they had a loan on their head. A lot of people went through a lot of things. We can't even count on our fingers,
Yeah.
right? This is what nature can do to you, right? This earth is giving us a place to live on it. How long do you think you can keep cutting it off and you will still be able to live on it?
Absolutely.
And when I say climate change, earth do not need you to fix earth, you need to fix yourself. Because even when we humans were not on earth, this was flourishing.
Yes.
And if we keep doing this, what we are doing, we will lose the chance of existing on earth. Earth will not die, trees will not go away from earth. You understand? If we do not have enough oxygen, right space to live, humans cannot survive on earth. So when we say climate change is happening, people think, oh, nature is dying. No, no, no. We are killing the possibility of surviving on this planet.
Right.
Once we all die, nature will again come back.
Absolutely.
Right? So do you, like, I live in a village. Here I have a very happy life, very nice air. If I go out, I do not feel itchy in my eye. Right? In a city, if I drive for 1 kilometer on a bike, I know that I'll be having itch in my eye, a lot of dust. This is the thing what we are doing. We are creating a space for ourselves which is not right, and eventually will die. Right? This is what we need to understand, that we are just spoiling our own space, and eventually Earth won't die. So I just want to put this out very clearly, that
Absolutely.
we are digging our own grave, not anything else.
Absolutely. As you rightly mentioned, Akash, it is a climate crisis which is, worsening at a very alarming rate. I'd again like to thank you for taking out time and speaking to me. I think you've broken down the information very well for people to understand. And the least we can expect right now, as you mentioned, is awareness about this calamity, about this disaster. I hope more people read about this and listen to this conversation and try to understand it better. Thank you so much, Akash. It was wonderful speaking to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.